Redneck.
What's up, man?
How you doing, brother?
Awesome, bro.
So fucking good to see you, and I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, super interesting.
I don't even know what the fuck we're gonna talk about. It's gonna be great. Because usually all my conversations are kind of like, I always tend to drift into like this like really deep philosophical stuff, but something tells me that this is gonna be way more fun. And
yeah, you're dealing with a redneck now, dude. It's
not gonna be the same.
So what's your redneck philosophy?
Let me see. Put it down there where the chickens can get after it.
Okay, that's actually a really this is fucking deep. So you are kind of like a household name in the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu world. You're a known commentator and you're a coach. And the reason that, first of all, since I met you in Nosara, it was like 2 months now.
Yeah, in about 2 months.
You immediately became one of my favorite people, and I think it's because, well, first of all, the fact that you're so light, like there's nothing too serious, and you're really good at what you do. You really love what you do, and there's like when people are infatuated with what they do, there's something very fun about that. You literally live this, but also you don't take yourself too seriously. You just kind of
definitely not too seriously.
Yeah. And I think that's a big one. That's a thing that I sometimes lacking. I think that one of the main reasons that I enjoy your company is that, but also the fact that what I noticed is that you have those like insights into what you do in the sport that because you coached a little bit in Nosara, like when I met you, and you share those little quips, like those little, I guess, actually very deep philosophical things about fighting and what a warrior is and all that stuff. But again, you don't make it too serious, but it's very profound. And what I've noticed is that your ability to understand this whole sport and everything around it is you understand it in a way that is executable. It's not just, some people are just like talking about it, like in deep philosophical terms, but you literally apply that in a way that is, it's very impressive. So I think that's one of the reasons, I guess, it kind of like fits in the sphere of what I'm trying to do with the podcast, which is trying to focus on people that, A, really good at what they do, but also that they have some insights about, life and everything else. So I don't know how much of that I'll be able to squeeze out of you because you don't want to come across as too serious.
I'm ready. No, dude, I'm ready.
But we totally got to be like, we're going to walk this ground like very lightly. Don't worry. So, do you have, do you have a favorite subject outside of that? Like outside of
jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
I love music, man.
That's right.
I love music.
So let's talk about music for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is something that you used to play in a band?
I did, yeah. I've been playing music way longer than I've been doing martial arts.
Okay.
So I started playing guitar when I blew out my knee when I was in high school playing basketball.
Oh.
And
you can do it playing drums, I guess.
I guess, yeah. I think you'd need to be pretty good though, or pretty bad. I don't know. But I blew out my knee, and so I used that time while I was off of athletics. I was like, I think I just want to learn to play guitar. So I just basically holed myself up in my room while I was recovering, and I started down that path. And yeah, so I've been playing guitar I'm 42 now, so however many years that is.
And you sing as well?
I do, yeah. I don't know if you could say that I sing well, but I definitely sing.
So you feel way more comfortable playing guitar than singing?
No.
Okay, so you do both.
Yeah, I do both.
But neither one, like jiu-jitsu and music, you don't really, like you love both, right? You don't really have like one over the other or something like that.
No, I definitely like jiu-jitsu more than anything.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Yeah,
but they scratch the same itch though for me. Like they kind of scratch the same. Itch? Yeah, creatively.
Okay.
So like I used to just play and obsess about music every day. But as I got more and more into training, I noticed that I was playing not that it was replacing it, but it was filling the same gap, if that makes sense. So whatever music was doing for me, like emotionally or mentally or whatever, spiritually, whatever, jiu-jitsu started to fill those same gaps in the same way, but to a deeper level for me. I don't know if that's just because I have like a proclivity for it or...
For violence?
No, I definitely don't have a proclivity for violence. Just for the problem solving of it, maybe.
Yeah. That's a big one, isn't
It's a
it?
creative expression for sure.
What is it about? So let's say, I have some very surface level understanding of jiu-jitsu, but let's pretend that we're talking to people that know nothing about jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
What is it about jiu-jitsu that is more problem-solving oriented than any other martial art like Muay Thai or like with let's say, like boxing or...
Well, let's just take boxing, for example.
Okay.
There is a limited set of tools that you're allowed to use, right? So I've only got these 2 tools, really. I can use it in my footwork, my head movement. But really, other than that, there's only so many possible ways I can put this together. You know what I'm saying?
Is that true? Like, isn't it as infinite if you actually kind of like go into the thing, or you think it is more limited?
I think it's more limited for sure. And that doesn't mean, simpler doesn't mean less beautiful necessarily.
Or how much you can explore it, of course. Yeah.
Correct.
But I see what you're saying. So in BJJ, you have more, like, first of all, you use your entire body.
And then you got the element of we're not this way, we're this way now.
So why does that matter?
Well, because we have this element as well. We have the standing element, and then there's the ground element.
Oh, I
so
see.
If I get you into a bad position on the feet, you can use your footwork to regain position, right? But if I get you into a bad position on the ground, you're stuck to the floor. And so you have to be able to manage not just
There's
yourself.
nowhere to go kind of thing?
You don't have to be able to manage not just me and my opponent, but me and my opponent as it relates to the floor.
So
And
there's
so it
another
opens
component.
up all these new modes of movement.
So then
so
why,
possible.
I think maybe I asked you this before, but actually I don't remember what you answered, but like, then why not take it to even a harder problem solving like MMA? Why not go there?
Yeah, I don't know that MMA is a more difficult problem to solve. It's just a different problem.
Isn't it more difficult because there's more elements to worry
But
about?
it's generally speaking, it's not as deep because it's taking like if you narrowed it down to the 20% of things from this art that yield 80% of the results, and then the 20% of things from this art that yield 80% of the results. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, we're looking at the 100% right here, like all of the ground fighting techniques that are available to somebody. I'm not just, because in MMA, you got to spend, let's just make it simple, a third of your time on grappling, a third of your time on getting the fight to the floor, and a third of your time on striking. And so you, just by nature of the fact that you're having to explore 3 arts, plus your strength and conditioning training, and learning how to cut
So how is this
weight.
not more difficult?
Jiu-jitsu? How's it not more
No,
difficult?
how is what you described about MMA not more difficult than just doing?
I'm not saying it's not more difficult. I'm saying it's a different problem.
It's a different problem.
It's a different problem
Okay.
to solve. It's so you're only gonna be able to go to a certain depth in each of those individual arts, because you have to spread your time amongst all 3, right? Whereas if you're just doing jiu-jitsu, you don't have to split your time in striking. You don't necessarily, you got to spend some time in wrestling, but you don't have to devote that much time to, cage work and stuff. So you get to explore a lot more of the complexities that are involved in jiu-jitsu because I'm not devoting myself.
Yeah,
to these.
but
so I can
that,
go deep down the rabbit hole.
but that's true of everything.
That's true of everything.
Yeah. So that's, I guess would you say that it's more a matter of like just that's the flavor that just stuck with, like it's the thing that
Yeah,
really...
well, I love martial arts.
So
right?
you've done some
Jiu-jitsu is
MMA,
just
right?
I've trained a lot of MMA.
Okay.
I did a lot of striking. I've got black belts in other arts.
What do you have black belts in?
Tang Soo Do Muda Kwan, Japanese
What'd you call me?
Jiu-Jitsu. Hey man, hey man. It's like Taekwondo sort of.
Okay.
And that's the style that we started in.
How far into your martial arts training did you encounter Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Right away.
Oh, so it was
I knew about jiu-jitsu before we started training, but there wasn't a jiu-jitsu school here, and so there was nobody to learn from.
Alabama.
So there were some in Alabama, but I think there were like 3 black belts in the whole state when I started, and so they weren't close enough for me to like go and train with them, and like I could go and visit them and learn from them, but I couldn't have made the drive, especially at that time. I didn't know how valuable it was, right? So I wouldn't have been willing, even if I could have made the drive, I wouldn't have been willing to because I didn't understand yet. I don't even remember what the original question was.
It doesn't matter. How did you end up? How did you meet?
How did we get into jiu-jitsu?
No, how did you like? So first of all, you're saying that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was pretty much there from the start for you. How old were you when you?
Well, it was there from the start because the karate school that we signed up with, the Tung Soo Do school, they had MMA classes on the weekends. And me and my wife, we started on the same day. She was the one that actually.
Oh, you told me that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, she's much better at this than I am. I know.
For
it's
real,
hard.
or are you just being?
No, dude, I'm serious. It's
What do you mean? Like
upsetting.
she's better at the sport?
Yeah, she's so good. She's so good. It makes me very frustrated.
So she like competed in everything. Like she like legit. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
she's great. I'm a second-degree black belt. She's a first-degree black belt. But we've been training the same amount of time. So I just competed a lot more than she did. So I got to kind of move through the ranks faster.
How did you get to me? Because you came up under Eddie Bravo, right? That's you're a black belt under Eddie. Well, it's 10th Planet. You now run a 10th Planet in Alabama.
It's hilarious.
It's amazing. How did you get to that? I mean, Eddie's in LA, right? And I think you told me that you literally went there just for that.
Mm-hmm. He came out and taught a seminar out here in Birmingham, and I didn't really know anything. I didn't know who he was really.
Oh, and so you did? Oh, I thought you already did, and that's why you were. Okay.
No. So he came in. He was teaching a seminar like an hour and a half from here, and then one of the guys I was training with up there at Webster's was like, "Hey, dude, Eddie Bravo is going to be teaching a seminar." I was like, "I don't know who that is, dude. Who's Eddie Bravo?" And he's like, "Just trust me, you should go." I was like, "Dude, I'm broke. I can't go." And he's like, "If I pay for you to go with me, so I don't have to go by myself, will you go?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'll go." And that's how I met Eddie.
Wow.
And I don't know, dude, I loved him right away.
You just clicked?
Yeah, I loved him right away. And so, I was
and also around music, you said?
Yeah, but even at that time, I was way more serious about music at that time, for sure. But we didn't really have that kind of, we weren't friends.
Got it. So you just met him and it was just on the mat, basically.
Yeah. It was totally on the mat. He taught for like 6 hours that first day I met him, and we just all drilled, and I rolled with him, and I was like, man, I need to know what this guy knows. Because after he put his hands on me, I was like, dude, I never felt anything like that before. So I need to know that.
So this is something interesting you told me when I met you, when we talked about Eddie a little bit. You said that most people don't understand how good Eddie really is.
Yeah.
And you said you said something that to me at the time sounded a little crazy, but so I want you to talk about it shortly. You said that he probably is one of the best people in martial arts in the world, period.
Yeah, I think so.
How does that express itself? Just in his ability to be creative and his ability to teach? What is that about him that makes you say that?
Yeah, and also just in his ability to take these ideas, these kind of like open-minded ideas that he has about martial arts, and actually put them into practice against a resisting opponent. Like that's ultimately, it has to come back. It's martial and it's art.
Execution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying his execution is like
he's great,
top of the line.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I guess he's 52 now.
No. But I mean, in his career, like obviously, he made a name for himself for a reason. But
he took a really unique approach to problem solving in jiu-jitsu, and he just ran it up the food chain, tested it to the highest level that he could. He never did become a world champion, but he did beat 2 times one of the greatest players to ever live, Royler Gracie.
Yeah, that was that legendary fight.
Yeah, and he beat him again 10 years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, that must have been such a crazy. Here comes this kid out of nowhere, and nobody expected that.
Yeah, he was a brown belt in 2003 at ADCC in Sao Paulo. Eddie was a brown belt. He won the ADCC trials on the West Coast, and so he got invited to come enter the tournament. Royler Gracie's in the tournament. He's won it multiple times. Nobody's ever even scored a point on this guy in ADCC rules. Eddie runs out, chokes out a world champion in his first match, meets Royler in round 2. He's not even a black belt yet. He triangle chokes him. Just like, what? Who is this guy that just beat Royler Gracie? And so that was his last match that he had for like 10 years.
Oh, and then he just started.
Yeah, he didn't even win that tournament.
Oh, but it was just the fact that, so you basically, it was like this crazy moment in the sport.
Yeah.
And everybody started paying attention.
Yeah.
So he could utilize that to actually start a school and explore his creativity through that.
That's exactly what happened.
That's amazing.
And then they had everybody was talking trash. Oh, he would never be able to do it again. And so finally, 10 years later, they meet again. And Eddie, all these things, these 10 years of creativity and being obsessed with jiu-jitsu every day, he takes that to the mat, and he just, like the first match against Hoyler, that was a close match. The second one was a total blowout, and it was all of these things that nobody in jiu-jitsu really does, just out of Eddie's creativity. It's wild to watch, especially like in the context of it happening in real time. I was a purple belt when he beat him the second time, and I was just, it's amazing to watch. It was really incredible.
Yeah, because he innovated a lot in the sport, you said, right? And he also the one that put a lot of emphasis on doing only no gi.
Yeah, really one of the first guys. I don't want to say he was the first guy to ever do no gi, because that's probably not true. But he was really the first guy who like went all in and like was an advocate for, man, maybe we should drop the gi. Maybe that's holding us back.
So 10th planet, all over the world or all over the country,
Always no gi.
There's no gi at all.
Always no gi.
It does make sense though, because why not have it the most functional?
It makes sense now. It's obvious, right? But when he did that, that was like taboo. The community, the jiu-jitsu community, was not behind that at all.
But how does that? He just didn't care.
Yeah, he's just like, look, this is what I think, and I'm just gonna put my theories and ideas to the test. And so he opened his own school and did that.
That's incredible. Yeah, when people stand their ground on something they believe is true. And again, Eddie has the same element that you do, which is like he doesn't seem to be taking himself too seriously.
Yeah,
like
he's a trip, man.
Yeah,
I love it.
He's fucking crazy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Wait, when because for some reason in my head was they kind of like him and Joe started at the same time, but that's not at all true, right?
No, Joe was taking privates from Eddie when Joe was
that's
first getting started.
Okay. That's what, because I know you also got, okay.
So
I don't know
both of them-
why. I guess in my head, because they're such good friends, because of that, it just seems like they started something together. But no, he was basically,
Yeah, so Eddie got his black belt from Jean-Jacques Machado. Joe also got a black belt from Jean-Jacques Machado.
oh, really? Wait. Didn't he get it from Eddie?
Yeah, he's also got a black belt from Eddie with no gi. So Eddie has
Those are two separate black belts.
Because
Because I remember I saw that video when Joe like gets all teared up.
Yeah.
And, like,
So he got his black belt from Eddie first, and then to be a black belt in the gi, like there's other things you need to know.
oh, like so
Just like to be a black belt in no gi, there's a couple of different ways of doing things you need to. So they're kind of separating into their own discipline over
I see.
time, even though technically it's all still the same. But Eddie won't give you a black belt unless you got certain things down. So you could be a black belt in the gi, and he'd be like, well, you can be a brown belt when you start with me, but I got some more expectations that I want to see. So I don't care about the gi stuff, get rid of that, take these specialties instead, and then you'll be a black belt on the other side.
Do you think you can tell, or that's bullshit from like an early stage? If somebody's going to be really good.
Man, sometimes you can tell, but that's pretty rare. I've really only had maybe like 2 or 3 people over all the years that from the minute that they walked through the door, I was like, oh man, that guy's going to be good. And it turned out that way. Usually the people who stick with it, it takes, in my experience at least, it takes them a little while to get the hang of it. But it's that like perseverance through the difficulty at the front, I think, is what ends up making them special. Or maybe they become special because of that.
So it's just the ability to grind. It's the ability to always show up.
And to stay like childlike and interested with it.
Right.
Always, I think.
But then what, and again, I know we talked about it a little
Nobody
bit.
gets through if they don't grind, no matter how talented they are.
No, obviously. But what is, and again, I actually don't remember what you answered on that, but like the top in the world, right? What's the guy's?
Like the best guy in the world now?
Yeah, what's his name
Gordon
again?
Ryan.
Oh, Gordon Ryan is the best?
I think so, yeah.
What makes him that much better than everybody else? Is it because it can't just be the grind? I'm sure there's other people in the world that can grind as much.
Or harder even.
Okay, but why? Why is he so good then?
Well, I think it's a couple of factors. I think number one, he has the most important thing that you have to have, which is like almost a manic obsession with jiu-jitsu.
So just like tunnel vision.
Yeah, like nothing else matters in some ways. It's almost unhealthy. I've definitely seen it become unhealthy for people.
But from all the people in the world, he's the only one that has that kind of focus?
No.
Okay.
But that's definitely a factor.
Okay.
Like nobody gets there without that,
Right.
right? And then you got to have an insane work ethic, right? Some people have the obsession, but they don't have the work ethic. Some people have the work ethic, but they don't have the obsession to be like creatively experimental and stuff in their training. Some people just don't have the physical gifts to reach elite athlete status. Like no matter, like me, for instance, no matter how good I get, I'm never going to be an elite athlete. You know what I'm saying?
Why? Well, you don't think you can take your... I mean, obviously, right now, you're not interested anymore.
Yeah,
but
well,
let's
I'm
say
old
you'd be
now,
interested.
too.
But let's say you would be. You don't think you can take your cardio and everything else to the level that it needs to be?
Yeah, I probably could, but I don't know about to be as good as Gordon is. You know what I'm saying? I think I could definitely be better than myself, right? But like, you know, no matter how good I get at basketball, no matter how much attention I pay to it, I'm always going to be 5'8". You know what I'm saying?
That's true of certain sports. Like in basketball, that's very pronounced, right? Because of height.
Right.
But I feel like in jiu-jitsu, isn't jiu-jitsu known to be the ground
Yeah, I would say it's the sport where it matters
where really
the
the
least.
work is
Yeah, I definitely think it's the combat sport, maybe even the sport where athleticism matters the least. But to say it doesn't matter would be crazy, you know?
So yeah, because it's something that you told me when you gave us a few lessons in Nasara, which is that you always trying to bring your students to a level where if they have the ability, if they have the time and the ability, obviously you said in the competition, you do whatever it takes in that moment. But to the extent that it's possible, in the moments that it's possible, you want to instill in your students that technique should come before everything else. So you should exert the least effort when you can, right? That's the
Yeah, basically.
And would you say
minimum effective dosage, right? If 2 ibuprofen will do the job, I don't want to take the whole bottle.
Got it. And would you say that then in a perfect world, if you have the perfect technique, you really can get away with almost like exerting minimal effort?
Yeah, I would say that. And I think we see that out of Gordon. So I think there's a couple of other factors with him though. And these are, to me, are the 2 most important factors. He's got a guy who I think most people in the sport would agree that he's the best coach in the world, John Danaher. And that he's got a room full of guys who are some of the best training partners and practitioners in the world. So all of that together, and then a lot of steroids. All of that together.
Are they allowed or no in the sport?
Well, you know.
No, I mean
they kinda,
officially. Yeah.
Kind of look the other way.
Yeah.
So
what is it? What you
there's
think?
nothing on the rule books about any of it.
Okay. What's your take on the whole steroid thing? Like, would you say that if we're all adults and people choose to do it, and should it be illegal? Because I mean, the you know, there's always the same argument, right? It's in the end of the day, even if you take steroids, not everybody can be on those levels. The fact that they're on those levels is just let them do whatever they want, and it's going to bring them even to higher levels, and then we're going to see even a more exciting sport, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great argument for baseball or basketball. I think it's a lot more complicated when I'm trying to hurt you in our sport. You know what I mean? Because now because now I'm sending myself to superhuman levels, and I've got your safety in my hands a little bit.
No, but what I'm saying is that then bring the other person also to that level, right?
Yeah.
You bring them to like
I really don't have any issue with steroids. I don't have an issue with abuse of anything, but I don't really have an issue with like somebody who's being observed medically and they're trying to do it in a way that is safe for their body. I just don't think that that's bad. But I do understand also the other side of the argument is, well, if I'm a regular dude and I'm going up against a guy who's, you know, he's training just as hard as me or maybe even harder, and he's on steroids and he grabs my shoulder and starts ripping it, he's got a lot more potential to drive damaging force through me in a competition setting. You know, in the gym, of course, nobody's going to do that.
So it's just the level of damage.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If I'm delivering, like in MMA, if I'm delivering shots to your head and I'm generating force that I wouldn't naturally be able to generate, well, just there's other factors to consider in that. Even if my opponent is consenting, I'm still driving extra force through your skull with my shin bone that I wouldn't have been able to do on my own without assistance. So I think it's complex in combat sports.
Yeah. No, that's actually the answer that a friend of mine who was he was competing. I don't remember if he ever went to the Olympics, but he was competing at very high level, just pole vaulting.
Okay.
Yeah, and I asked him a similar question. It's like, why do we care? Like, just let people do even crazier shit, right? They're in it. Obviously, even just cutting weight is super dangerous, right?
Yeah,
We all
sure,
know that. That's like right? So you do things that are super dangerous either. And hey, the sport itself, MMA and even in BJJ, like there's a lot of dangerous moments, right? So that's the game, right? I'm not saying, but he said, yeah, but the ethics of it, it's like you do play here with a level, the margin of danger is like increasing to such a degree that even in things like pole vaulting, which is not.
Yeah, I don't know enough about pole vaulting to have a strong opinion on it, but
No, he's just talking about their health. Like he's talking about like what it does to your heart.
oh,
what
yeah,
it
that's
does
what
to-
I'm saying. I think it needs to be medically supervised. I think maybe we should just set a limit, like nobody's levels go above this, and everybody gets tested every week.
Yeah. So
And
you do think
You
it's a
can
good
take
thing,
up
right?
to, you can have your levels at 1,200. That's the limit we're putting, or 2,000, whatever, something crazy.
I just feel like human like to take it to like a absurd level, right? I always feel like the second they invent the true invincible suit, like like bear suit, but like really, like the second they have that, somebody's gonna invent I don't know.
Something to break it.
Well, no, they're gonna invent something ridiculous. Like I always think of the example of like tornado surfing, like fucking going into, you know what I mean? Like the second you have something indestructible, somebody's gonna be doing fucking tornado surfing.
Yeah,
It
dude,
just goes into tornado
all
and
that
fucking.
parkour stuff you like to watch.
It's
dude.
fucking lightnings, like, and cows flying all around you, and you're just like fucking. So like you would have that, right? And as long as you can keep a certain minimal amount of like, okay, maybe there's a good chance you won't get hurt, then people would do that. So that's the only question for me. How much more dangerous do steroids actually make it? You know what I mean? It's like because we're there to be entertained. We're there to see something insane, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So
I wish it was legal, but I do understand the other side of the argument, and so I want to.
yeah, of course.
I feel like I got to at least hear. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. That's a valid concern, but the problem is, people are gonna cheat.
They're gonna cheat either way. Yeah.
They're gonna cheat,
Yeah.
and so if they're gonna cheat, then that danger is already inside the sport. That concern that we have that we don't want that superhuman level of athletics to be in this. Well, it's already in the sport. So why not just admit that it's going on and open it up to everybody to be able to do it in a safe and monitored way?
To the extent that it's possible. Because I wasn't even aware that the level of injury and the size of the injury that is available for people in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, not even in MMA, is that crazy. I didn't know that until I met you. Like that, and then I started watching all those videos. I'm like, holy shit! Like you just snap people's shins and like
you can ruin somebody's life for sure.
that is so fucking crazy.
Yeah, we go do it every night. It's so stupid. But that doesn't really
you
happen.
look giddy
in the
about
gym.
it.
I like it. I don't know. I'm twisted, I guess.
And that's cool, but I'm so confused by that because you're talking about like safety and stuff. You said, yeah, I mean, if it's me or him and we're in a competition, and
Well, that's what because we entered the competition together. I'm taking your safety. I'm putting it all on you. You keep yourself safe. I'll keep myself safe, and that's the agreement.
Wow, man.
And that's a good agreement, But I also agree that when you've had enough, I won't take it any further.
It's just, I guess what I remember you saying is that, so why not just let them the option to tap? And you said, well, sometimes if you give them the option to tap, they will not tap. They will just keep coming at you. So
A lot of people. I think it's good. I would like to always give my guys the option to tap. Some people don't exercise that right, and they force you to go the rest of the way with it.
By the way,
that never happens in the gym, but that definitely happens in competition all the time.
Hold on.
That's the best part.
That is the best part.
Yeah, leave that in.
Oh, I'm leaving that in for sure.
Leave the train in.
The train is in, but I don't know how much is going to be heard.
You have to wait for just a second. It is always getting in on my videos, always.
It's really close, huh?
Yeah, it's literally right there.
Oh, look at that fucking samurai. I'm just now seeing it. Who drew that?
Oh, over on the wall?
Yeah.
That's a banner, but there's one right there that one of my students made for me.
Oh,
He drew it with a marker, a Sharpie marker.
That's fucking sick.
And he drew it on wood with a Sharpie marker and then cut it out.
Bro, some people are just so creative. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then there's Ron Burgundy right there.
Yep.
See, that's the both sides of my personality there. There's the samurai and Ron Burgundy.
Do you think you could live that life? The Ron Burgundy life? No.
I could probably come closer to living the Ron Burgundy life than the samurai life. Yeah, parts of it.
No, like you think if you live in that time and that would be available as a lifestyle, you would do that?
I'm too soft to live in
No, really. I'm asking you for
beyond
real.
modern times, probably.
No, but like in your spirit, do you feel that that's
Yeah, I
something
definitely resonate with that thing. I really.
It's like the true warrior that is just
Yeah,
like
I resonate
the
with
honor
that.
and the whole.
I don't know how well I embody it personally, but that part of martial arts speaks to me more than any other part, for sure.
What is it about it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just like romantic.
Is it the yeah? I was about to ask, like the romantic code of honor, or is just
there's a lot of that to it for me. It just feels right. It just feels like I feel like kind of drawn to it.
Interesting.
But I don't know that like I said, I don't know how much of that I truly embody. But like just the idea of waking up and devoting yourself to the pursuit of one thing. Like that idea really resonates with my soul, So
I always wondered, we think of these things in terms of movies because we always see it in movies. But ask yourself, like, what is the daily routine of a ninja, right? You wake up in the morning, what do? You do ninja stuff? Like,
it's boring.
Yeah, it's just like
it's boring. It's rote repetition. If you want
and
mastery.
and by the way, but that's also another thing that is fascinating because think about it, like. Now we have dojos and schools, right? Back then, obviously, they also had stuff like that. But the second you become a full-fledged like samurai and stuff, you just train yourself, right? That's essentially like you just do it by yourself. Yeah, you train
with your students.
Yeah. Oh, well, wait. Didn't they live in kind of like this?
Some of them. Yeah, I mean, like the Ronin, like Musashi himself was a Ronin.
Okay, I actually don't know a lot about it. So what is the...
So
the Ronin is like a type of a samurai?
Yeah, it's like a samurai with no master.
Like the nomad, like the knight.
So the most famous samurai is Musashi, Miyamoto Musashi. And he was a Ronin. And he believed he had a style that was superior to any of the styles that were coming out of these schools. And so he would just go and challenge. He'd be like, listen, my style is better than you and all your students. And I'm willing to do a duel to the death to prove it. And he was always right, it turned out.
How many people he killed?
62.
Oh, I think Joe Rogan was talking about him. Yeah. Isn't that the guy he tattooed on his arm or something?
Yeah, I think that is Musashi on the arm.
Okay, Musashi. Interesting. 62 is a lot of people, man, in your life. In your life. And just to prove a point.
Well, you know what is beautiful about... So if you never read the Book of Five Rings, you definitely have to. It's the book that was written by Musashi.
I'm about to travel a lot, so I'm definitely going to read it.
Get it, dude.
Okay, I'll get it today.
Probably my favorite. That and the Art of Learning.
Still halfway through the other book you recommend.
Oh yeah, the Art of Learning. Yeah. So those are my two books,
Okay.
The Art of Learning and the Book of Five Rings. But to me, the most like impactful part out of the Book of Five Rings is like once you see the way broadly, you see it in all things. And the idea that jiu-jitsu or really any martial art, or really music or whatever, that the lessons that you derive from the small are really lessons about the large. But and then the deeper...
As above, so below.
Exactly.
As below, so above. Yeah.
Once you see the way broadly, you see it in all things. So once you understand patience in hand-to-hand combat and, I guess there is patience involved in fighting. If you're open to it, this lesson can explode across all the other areas of your life as well. So for me, jiu-jitsu is it's a microcosm of the real world. It has like an immediate feedback loop. I have this idea, I'm gonna try it. Well, that guy was resisting and he didn't want you to do it that way and that didn't work out and now you're strangled unconscious. Okay, back to the drawing board. So, and then once you grab those lessons and you kind of like take them in beyond okay, I know what move to do, but I intuitively just do this now. Once it becomes ingrained in your DNA, that lesson is ready to be kicked out across your entire life. If you've got the patience and the discipline to like hear those lessons, everything you're gonna know, you already know. You just don't know you know it yet.
So it's almost like it unpacks itself in other things. So one thing...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think anything on a high level will give you that.
I think music's the same way. Probably archery, being an author, carpenter, probably all of those things. And that's what, that's one of the big things of the samurai lifestyle. It's the way of the pen and the sword,
The pin?
Yeah.
What is the pin?
the pen.
Oh, the pen. Okay,
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm from the country, so we say pen.
Pen, man.
The pen and the
pen.
sword.
I thought they were fighting
Yeah.
with a little
The
pin
warrior
and a
poet.
sword.
The warrior poet.
Interesting.
You know?
Because,
It's art for art's sake. Like, why do I continue to train? Like, am I training to try to be the best guy in my school? Like, I'm not trying to be the world champion. So why do I keep coming back out here every day and putting myself through these same routines that I've been doing for all these years? It's art for art's sake. Like, why do you play guitar? You're not going to have a top 40. Because I like playing guitar, dude. Because it does something for me that nothing else really does that way. And I think for me, like, jiu-jitsu is just the ultimate expression of that.
One of those things that you told me in between all the very funny jokes, you have those like very brilliant, profound insights. And one of those things was that, which is that, for example, you took this lesson from I asked you, what are those lessons from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Can you give me an example how it applies to life? And you said, well, you can apply a lot of what you do with your body to how you conduct yourself internally. So there's a certain way, like there's how you allow somebody to influence your mood or your heart, or you got to be flexible. You got to allow for certain things because you can't control other people, but what you can control is your frame. Mm-hmm. And you can't, so this is like, this is the thing. Like if it were just written in a book by some professor who studied this or that, it doesn't have the same impact as somebody who took it from like a daily routine of a practice. Because
the cool thing about jiu-jitsu is I can express that to you physically so that you can feel that, oh, wait, there is something here that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And he's making a connection that it's actually, not only do I not know how to do it physically, but the lesson is something on the other side of the physical. That's what's actually in teaching the physical, So learn one from the other.
That's a big one, isn't it? The thing beyond the physical. We're slowly moving to like understand more and more of that. Do you think that there's something that what do I want to say about the samurais? Oh, so they were what exactly? Were they soldiers? What was the?
Yeah, basically they were just servants of either the emperor or the feudal lord in their area.
Okay, so they were essentially, and then some of them were just
samurai is like a servant.
Okay.
Basically, it just means servant.
That knows how to fight really well.
Yeah, exceptionally well. He's dedicated his life to this single pursuit. He wakes up every day and he starts his day with that on his mind. And this is the romantic version, right?
No,
of
but
course,
it's also,
they have real lives that they're going through.
They have to take a shit.
Yeah.
with the two swords.
But this is the romantic idea.
Yeah.
This is how we've romanticized it into... And that's how I internalize it. Like I'm trying to take the lessons of that, even if it's myth, even if it's just the hero's journey. But those stories are powerful, and so being able to take the lessons from that and go, okay, I can glean this from that. I can glean, even if it's just a romantic idea.
No, but a lot of it is probably true
powerful.
because life or death situations would bring out the most romantic and the most serious thing. I mean, I think that. I always look at it like what romanticism actually is the sting in life. There's no bigger sting than death, right? So if you have death on the line all the time, there's going to be a certain element to your life that is very profound constantly, right? Somebody, I forget who said that, and I'm sure this idea was reiterated infinitely, but that nowadays, the way we live our lives now, the reason that we're so preoccupied with nonsense is because like actually, not that we want to go back to that, but like, during Second World War, like those were like serious problems. And because of it, all human connection was way more profound. Like falling in love during a war feels very different than falling in love at Starbucks.
It makes total sense.
And then I think that weight, now obviously, again, we want to aim always towards like bettering humanity and everything, but that's why the only outlet we got left of like feeling those profound moments is doing some things that are hard and then finding those deep insights in which not some other person told you about them, but you heard it from life.
Yeah, it's
Because on the mat, like, it's okay, there's the other person, but this whole situation is it's life expressing, right? So it's like you learn that from living life. It's not the same as like somebody again told you about it and then you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, you're like, oh shit, this is real. Like this either works or it doesn't work, and that is like it's as real as it gets. We're samurais mostly. I know you get back to it, but I realize I know very little about it and I'm fascinated by it. Would they focus mostly on the sword? Or
Yeah, for sure. Well, the samurai, they would do archery. They would have multiple swords. Musashi famously killed somebody with a boat oar in a duel.
With a what? I'm
With
sorry?
a boat oar. He fought the guy with a boat oar and he killed
As
him.
a choice, or is just what was around?
That was his weapon of choice.
Just to prove a point that is this,
Yeah.
and the other guy had a sword. And okay. And what were so this is what I know, and it's either going to be a very ridiculously funny moment, or maybe I'll actually know what I'm talking about. So I heard somewhere that what the ninjas was essentially like clans. They were kind of like outside of society, and they would like kidnap, like even like young kids.
Yeah, I think they were assassins. I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Okay, so what I heard is that they were like kidnapping literally. Sometimes even kids of royalty is almost like, and then they would castrate them and just focus them just on that, and they would like kind of make them into those.
Yeah, maybe.
You have no idea,
No, that sounds like a crazy anime to me. It sounds awesome. I'd love to watch it.
So were they around the same time? Like, because ninjas was a real thing, right?
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
actual,
that's
and
real.
were they lived around the same time, right?
Yeah.
With samurais and.
Yeah, I don't think the things that we think of now as ninja.
That's why I'm asking,
is a
because I'm
real
like, I
thing.
wonder how much of that is just like a like a folklore
But yeah,
thing.
there was
that
a
just-
tribe of warriors that were ninjas. Yeah, there were clans of ninjas for sure.
So what were the blue ninjas? Because in all the film, like what is that? All those old films with the fucking blue ninjas and the white
dude.
ninjas and no fucking doing
Power Rangers, though.
Yeah, fucking Power Rangers, and they dig through the ground and they do all kinds of shit.
Yeah, smoke bomb.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Do you believe in, or maybe you don't even believe? Maybe I just don't know. But like, do you think chi is real? Like, is that a real?
I want to believe that it is, but no, I don't.
You don't think so?
No, but I do think that there's a lot of like the internal martial arts that have like some truth to them. But no, I don't think so.
So that whole thing, even if National Geographic is doing that thing with with the heat and that's nonsense. They just like make it up.
I mean,
No,
in my
your opinion.
in my
yeah.
experience, yeah. That's,
Okay.
That's somebody who, is trying to.
Yeah.
I think that's a snake.
I just don't understand. Yeah, no, because some things that they do is obviously like very impressive, right? Like the Kung Fu Shaolin monks, like you see them like hang from the thing, and obviously you can strengthen your body to like really like you go with your fingers into like stones eventually and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
well, I mean, just from your own life, like you can take the human body to be able to do some pretty crazy things, dude.
Yes, but the question
But
is,
there's nothing magical about that.
I'm not saying magical. I'm saying, by the way, I don't even mean chi in a magical sense. I mean, what if it's a force we don't understand?
I think there's probably something like that. I don't know how much harness we have.
You never felt it. You never like.
No, I think that there's things that are really well, like a really experienced martial, like like me and you training together. I could show you some things because you don't have as much experience, and it would almost feel to you like they were like, how can I not put my back on the mat right there? But it's just the position I'm putting my body in. It's the place I'm distributing my weight. It's nothing magical going on.
It's your understanding of the situation.
Yes.
But chi is different in the sense that we're postulating an external force that we don't at the moment.
Right, but if
know
I
physically
told
exists.
you, if I put you in that position, I told you that I was using a magic chi on
Oh, I
you,
see, I
and
see
you
what
were
you're
a
saying.
little bit of a sucker,
I see what you're
it
saying.
wouldn't be that hard for me to fool you into thinking that I was magical.
Okay, that's true. But what I'm saying is that, and that's confusing to me on a different level, because if I guess, again, like a National Geographic, which is supposed to be a channel that I would assume would want to be respected for their, like.
Well, they're exploring different
Yeah,
ideas.
but that's what I'm confused about. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying if they're like making that up, it's like it's so disappointing. It's like.
Well, I don't think National Geographic's making it up.
Well, I remember one episode where they did this thing on Shaolin, and they showed this infrared camera, and they did this thing, and you could see kind of something. So I wonder if they just like did that in post-production. I don't know
Yeah,
if,
maybe.
yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like, why would you need to add that?
I do think like there's a lot to learn from an art like Tai Chi, you know, where they talk about the chi comes out of the dantian, which is right here below the navel. But really, you can learn a lot about just like your balance and your rooting to the floor and stuff like that by just focusing your attention. And you can start to feel different. Like when you go to push me and shove me, my stance and my base and my root feels different because of how I'm holding my hip and where I'm putting my attention. But there's nothing magical going on. I'm just orienting my body and putting my attention into things in a more experienced way, in a more nuanced way.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I'm with you on that.
I don't
Like,
think
I mean,
there's anything magical going on.
so one thing that
I think there's internally, there's magical things happening, but I don't think that there's a way to like manipulate that and make you feel it. If I want to manipulate you, and if you jump out there and fight, you get to find out real quick.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you got chi, dude. Just come on out here, knock me over with that chi ball. I'm gonna try to strangle you before you can do that, and let's just see what happens. Tell you what, just use all your chi.
Well, that's what the Gracie Challenge was, really.
Basically,
Yeah. It's like, hey,
That's the best part about jiu-jitsu.
yeah. You all this talk, let's settle this on the mat. Yeah.
Come on
And
out.
then the whole
You can hit me, you can bite me, you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna put you away, but I'm not gonna hurt you. Come on out.
which is such a powerful tool. And I guess the retort from the other side that still wants to insist that those things exist is always like, well, some people on that level, and they're not interested in proving anything to anyone. I'm like,
And I'm very interested. Nothing interests me more.
to see what works. I don't know why you wouldn't want to know what works, because this is
Well,
the point.
if you know inside what the truth is.
Yeah. No, this is something, again, that you said one time, and it was very funny, because you said, okay, those people that think that they can do all these things, but they just don't want to prove it, how do they know they can do it unless they tried it on someone in real time?
Dude, you're telling me you can't do this technique because like I would just pluck your eye out. Well, let me ask you this, dude. How many eyeballs do you have in jars on the mantle? Because what you're telling me is that I've never
do it. Yeah.
I've never plucked an eyeball out. But if I had to, I would. Well, you don't know how. You've never done it one time.
Yeah.
What other realm in the world does somebody go, well, I've never done that, but trust me, when the pressure gets on and my adrenaline spikes and somebody's trying to stop me, but trust me, I'll be able to do it for the first time ever. There's literally no other thing in the world where people think
drug
that.
addicts say that, and they can stop if they want to. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. No,
Like, could you imagine somebody says that? Listen, dude, I never played guitar, but trust me, you put me on stage in front of 20,000 people and put that mic in my face, I'm gonna deliver. I've seen it done. The guy who taught me, he's played guitar before in front of 20,000 people, so I know I can. He told me all about chords.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You've never picked up a guitar.
Yeah.
And now you're gonna,
Yeah.
in any other field, we would go, that's crazy. But something about men just want to believe that they're capable and they can fight.
It's not just men. It's not just men.
It's not just men, but it's particularly men.
In fighting.
Yeah, I'm talking about fighting specifically.
Okay, but I see it, by the way, as a problem across the board. Like,
It's just that Dunning-Kruger. You just don't know what you don't know. Like you know so little that your confidence is high. But then the more
that's the American way.
the more your experience rises, your confidence starts to meet about right here. You're like, oh, wait a minute. It's like, so there's unconscious incompetence. I don't even know how incapable I am. That's where we all start in a given skill. Unconscious incompetence. I have no idea how incapable I am.
It's the people who tell me
Then
for $1
we
million
move-
they can survive in the octagon for 1 minute. I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah. Then we move to conscious incompetence. Oh, I've gotten enough experience now that I'm aware of how much I don't know. That's the second stage. And then you move to conscious competence, where it's like, no, man, I've been doing this for a while, and I've got this amount of skill. I'm pretty aware of my skill set. And it's, it is where it is. But eventually you move to a side of mastery where it's unconscious competence, where it's now I can do things that I've never done in this exact way before. I can create now in the moment. So I know things that I don't even, my body knows things that I don't even know. And not in a magical way, but just like in the moment, just like you're in the flow. You know what I mean? It's all just still talking just in the physical realm, but sometimes I'll just, oh man, how did we end up here?
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's because people are always looking for shortcuts. I think it's also because it's easier to believe that you have this crazy ability. You just don't want to prove it to anyone because your ego feels great about it. And it might, actually, funny enough, I always use the MMA example whenever I have this conversation with like a spiritual person, and they always have this kind of like right now I find myself in a position which I have to have more and more conversations in between domains, like talking to scientists about certain things and then talking to spiritual people about certain things. And there's, like when you go to the spiritual world, I feel like it's in the stage now that martial arts was before the Gracie
UFC.
challenges and the UFC. Because there's the exact same situation. Everybody are like, no, this is the one, there's all those techniques, they're for different things, but this technique is the technique. This technique is the technique. Okay. Why would the answer to the question what works be any different in that domain than it is in every single thing in the world? Like, we used to build buildings through rules of thumb. Like, there was one guy in the village that kind of knew how to make arcs really well. He didn't exactly understand why they work. He devoted his life to it. So, he was there and he was like doing it.
The experience.
The
to have
experience,
confidence
exactly.
in it.
But he didn't have the specific, it was a rule of thumb. Then we developed deeper understanding of geometry, of architecture, of like, there was a science behind it, which is like the understanding of what in fact is going on. Now, yes, you can have a shitty architect, but for the most part, you can teach this and you have way more people that create structures that are very stable. The important part is that now buildings are way more stable on a regular basis versus back then it was like hit and miss, right?
Yeah.
And if you know, like everything follows this trajectory, both for humanity as a whole and for a person individually. Like you can think kind of through rules of thumb and you can be great at it, but if you also understand the theory behind it and what it is, and then you combine the two together, you have a much more like stable thing of what's going on and how to execute it, right?
And it's scalable and replicatable.
Exactly, which is the part here. And now you have this like whole thing where people say, yeah, but like there's this big rule, like if, for example, in Buddhist communities, which is like, if you enlighten, you shouldn't be talking about it. It's like, why? Like if there's if we can all be enlightened and there's a way to do it outside of just like, if there's, let's say, shortcuts because we understand the path and we understand the things that makes people enlightened, why not figure this out? Why not involve science in this, right? Why not help people do this in a more reliable way, just like now we can build buildings easier, right? What is being taken away if you can do that? And the example I always give with MMA, which is like, why would you think that there's one thing that can achieve the whole? You have different tools. You bring people, you have the answer now, right? The UFC is the answer, right? Because you have the people who literally devote themselves not to one martial art, but to be the best at taking someone else out.
And there's 100,000 different ways and permutations.
And then and then you take all the tools that certain things work and certain things don't in different situations, and the whole field grows. So why wouldn't you want to innovate? Why would you want to assume that somebody 2,500 years ago figured it all out? Like why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have a situation in which you understand that yes, you have certain techniques that can help you relax, certain techniques that can help you like clarify your mind, and then you combine all of those, just like in MMA, to achieve the best results. And by the way, the thing itself constantly is moving. Like the human mind is constantly evolving. So maybe the mind is not even the same from 2,000 years ago. Like maybe now, you see what I mean? Like, so you have to like work with the thing. So it might sound like an obscure example or maybe not that related, but to me, it's like, it drives me crazy, which is the domain in which people pertain to be the most humble and the most, it's such a hubris to say, I know that there's no way to do I know for the rest of humanity what is possible, what is impossible.
Yeah.
The fuck do you know?
Yeah,
Like
just as soon as somebody starts saying I know, I start going,
no, it's just like whatever works.
I don't care what the field is.
Whatever works.
It's hard for me to trust. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, trust. Yeah. That's what made me think of that.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, trust me, I can.
We have to be able to measure
Exactly.
what we can't measure can't grow, or it doesn't grow consistently at least. Like if you were gonna say, hey man, I want to get strong. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna start lifting weights. All right, great idea. How much are you gonna lift? I don't know, man. I just let the spirit guide me, dog. Okay. Well, how do we know you're getting stronger? Right? We could test your theory, your combat theories. Just come on out here. Tell me what rules you want to play under, and we'll play under those rules, and we'll see what works.
Yeah.
And then if we really want to do a deep dive into it, we'll train it every day, and we'll do it for 20 years, and we'll get the answers. You know?
Yeah. No, it's exactly what I'm saying. Like involve science. Like, okay, so you have again, MMAs and combat sports are the best example because you have like all the examples of getting better at something exist in it to the extreme. So like you have the really good fighters, but then you bring all the funding and the experience around the organization, specifically, let's say with UFC, the facilities, the science, the diet, the like everything, right?
Yeah.
And now you have
We can at least establish best practices.
exactly,
And then we'll let our creative people work from within the best practices.
but you give them the strongest base to create this like very, very. I always say that I think, and actually I don't know if you can disagree with that or not, but I always say that a modern, like let's say top 3-4 UFC fighters, they are literally the toughest motherfuckers in history. Like they I don't think there's, maybe you disagree with me, but I don't think there's one gladiator that will be able to take them down if there's no weapons.
in hand to hand,
Yeah,
I would agree with that hand to hand.
Because there's all this science behind them, not just their physical abilities, because there's all this understanding.
But also just they're dedicated to it.
It wasn't as structured.
Down,
Yeah. Because we like to romanticize
They definitely
the
had
old
it,
times.
for sure. But they definitely had it structured. There were definitely like systems that those guys used,
Back then, you mean?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe those they don't translate as well, and maybe they weren't passed down as well. But I mean, their armies were organized. We know they set up the phalanx, and we know they had certain ways that they structured their fighting. So I'm sure that they had that for hand to hand as well. I mean, anything that has that much importance placed on it, like, hey man, you got to go out there and fight to the death tomorrow. You're going to take it pretty seriously. You're going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I guess the only thing I'm emphasizing is the role of knowledge is very real. Like knowledge is a real thing.
I think we have more access to martial knowledge now than we've ever had.
Yeah, and that's the thing that makes it.
I agree with at least the sentiment of what you're saying.
Yeah. So like, all I'm saying is that I don't see any reason why in the spiritual world you wouldn't have the same thing, which is like, hey, if we can figure out from neuroscience like what actually happens, and we can create something like Neuralink to help us get there.
Yeah, I'm interested in it.
That's not dirty to me.
Yeah.
Like people always say, yeah, but there's something unnatural about it.
Maybe it's like how if you look at the electron, you change its state. You can't, you know what I'm saying?
No, tell me again.
Like, well, you know how like, what is it called? I'm not smart enough to even talk about this, bro. What is it?
No, I think you.
This is where we need Keelan right here to tell me about it.
Wait, you mean in the double slit experiment?
Yeah,
that whole
yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Okay. So you're saying like influence things, but here
Like
you
the
see now,
observer.
but here's the thing. Now you're postulating an external effect that makes sense of the chi, let's say,
Yeah.
right? So it's like the life force. Let's play devil's advocate,
Let's
right?
do it.
Okay, so if you do this, right, you actually have no idea how you're doing this, right? How are you doing that?
I don't know.
No, really. Like when you do that, like how is this happening? Like you like, okay,
I know what
moving my
I'm
hand.
told, like signals to the brain or whatever.
Yeah, but
by
how are
doing it.
you actually doing that? That's
I have no
weird,
idea.
right? So I actually don't have that hard time believing. I'm not saying I will believe it just because it feels like it, but I'm saying it's not that crazy to me to believe that whatever force is allowing me to do this is a force that can allow me, if I embody it, can allow me to influence something external.
Yeah.
Because those are the claims, right?
And see, the thing is, I want that to be true. I really want that to be true. But I think the major problem that I have with accepting it is that is the domain of charlatans generally.
Yes, and a lot of people take a ride on that.
And it's so hard for me to take anybody seriously because it's 100% charlatans.
Almost always,
It's 100%.
Well, again, I have one case in which I saw that something kind of like that happened, and I couldn't, there was no other explanation. But I see what you're saying.
There's no other explanation that you had or maybe that I could have had, but I don't know that there's no explanation.
No,
I don't know,
I'm not saying there is no. I'm saying that in that situation, it was undeniable that there was not a coincidence. It's like I felt something in my body when somebody else was doing a thing. And then I was like, okay. I was very confused by that because I've never seen
Somebody
that
hit you with that dim mop,
with
dude.
that damn mob, bro.
Oh, the train's going. Sorry.
Sorry
about the train, friends. My apologies. We're out here in the country, a lot of trains.
If you would have this experience, would it convince you, do you think?
I'm open to be convinced.
Okay,
I
so,
really am
if
open
it would happen to
convinced.
you, you would be convinced.
Yeah, well, yeah, man, I think there's weird stuff for sure. And I really want Chi to be real because I would love nothing more than to be the guy that had it. You know what I'm saying?
Fucking like a fucking
Yeah,
bender.
I think Chi is real. I just don't think it's what people say it is.
Got
I
it.
don't think I'm like gonna move you across the room or hit you with my Chi force field and stop an attacker. I don't think any of that is real. Are there things that we can't see and can't explain? I definitely think that.
So Bruce Lee's, what is it, the 1 inch
Yeah,
thing?
it's a trick, it's a technique, it's a way to do a thing physically.
Do you think that was real? Like as far as like people kind of jumped back when he was doing it.
Probably both.
Okay.
Probably he could hit really hard like that, and probably people were selling it for him too.
That's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, and honestly, that's happening in jiu-jitsu when I'm teaching a lot, like because I'm trying to demonstrate slowly so we can pause. Okay, then I make this move. Okay, now pause. All right, guys, look at where his weight is distributed. What if he tipped himself this way? Look how easy it becomes if I move his weight. And so
he moves a little.
So you tell the uke draw this exact. The uke is in martial arts, the tori is the guy who performs the technique, and the uke is the guy who has the technique performed on him. So you tell that the uke he draws the painting for you. Like he's the one that sets the stage. It's like feeding mitts. Like say we're gonna box, and I pop, pop, pop. You're hitting the mitts hard, but you're not fighting. I'm feeding you, show me your jab, show me the hook, show me the cross.
You're not resisting me.
That's right. And I'm feeding you the perfect time to throw that uppercut, right? In jiu-jitsu, it's the same when I'm teaching. I'm gonna, not when you're rolling, I'm not trying to feed you those things. But I'm trying to do it during the demonstration, I'm trying to set the uke and I'm gonna teach you this exact moment right here. And when you feel the momentum of that moment, we're just going to drill that moment over and over. And so you're going to learn what that moment feels like. And then when we take it on to real resistance, when that moment occurs, because you felt it so many times before, you're going to have a better understanding of how to deal with it when the moment comes. And there'll be variations in real time. And you'll have to learn to move around them and move with them. But it won't be foreign to you because you've drilled it over and over, because the uke set the stage for you to learn it.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the uke has to understand the technique better than the guy who's doing it.
No, of course. I didn't think of that like a demonstration on the mat. It's basically essentially they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's kata.
Yeah, it is a kata. And and then we look at it again back in time, and then it looks like all this like this amazing thing. Did Bruce Lee compete, by the way? Was he?
No, I don't think he ever fought.
He never competed. So really, there's no way
he
of
might
knowing.
have done like some martial arts tournaments, but I don't think there was any fighting involved.
So unless somebody competes, you really don't have a way to really assess.
Yeah, not just compete, but fight.
Yeah.
Like the idea, it's martial and arts.
Yeah.
All the art in the world, that's awesome. But if there's no martial to it, it's not martial arts. So it's an equal balance. Some people, like I'm a little more drawn to the art than I am the martial. But I do love the martial. I do love that part.
The impact actually tells you where
because
the
that's
thing
the
really
most
is.
important part.
Yeah.
So all of the truth from here if I try, I've extracted this truth from the art side, from the philosophy of jiu-jitsu, and then I take it over here and try to put it onto the martial and it doesn't translate, maybe it wasn't true to begin with.
Yeah.
And so now I take that truth that I learned over here, I tried to apply it here, but it turns out it's a little different than what I thought. Then it's probably a little different than what I thought over here.
But you can inform this by doing that.
That's right.
Yeah.
The hard teaches the soft, and the soft teaches the hard. No, there isn't one without the other.
It's one system.
Yeah.
100%. Well, listen, Brandon, we're gonna have to wrap it up because you have a flight tomorrow, and I also have a couple hours drive.
I'm glad you came down, dude.
Bro, I'm so grateful
I love
that you
spending
agreed to
time
do
with
this.
you.
I came to just chat with you, and this was like awesome to also record this. I can't wait to see what this year and the next few years are gonna bring. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of amazing adventures. And hey, I might see you in Italy. That would actually
Maybe
be
in
amazing.
Italy, maybe in Spain,
Bro. That'll be amazing.
maybe everywhere, dude. Maybe Costa Rica again.
Oh, Costa Rica, 100%.
Yeah, are we going again? I guess we probably don't need everybody to know about that.
No, there's nothing happening in Costa Rica.
There is no Costa Rica.
Bro, you're the
I
man.
love you. I'm sorry, cool guy stuff.
It just like fucking throws me off.